A tired little girl's unexpected question revealed an amazing connection with a widowed man. Sarah stumbled through the door of their small house, her scrub sticking to her skin as fatigue washed over her. The hospital had been hellish today. A code blue had left her reeling, and the weight of it pressed down on her shoulders like an anchor. But as she opened the door, she was met with the warm, chaotic energy of her 7-year-old daughter, Lily, bouncing off the walls. "Mommy, can we invite Mr. Collins over for dinner?" Lily's eyes sparkled with innocent wonder. The question hung in the air, almost too bright for Sarah's tired mind. Mr. Collins was a shadow in their lives, a widowed veteran who lived next door in a modest house peppered with overgrown bushes and peeling paint. "Why does he never have visitors?" Lily asked, her inquisitive nature drawing Sarah's weary thoughts back into the light. Guilt coiled around Sarah's insides. She barely knew the man, yet part of her recognized that she had let her busy life overshadow the loneliness around her. Was she not also guilty of isolation? Torn between the whirlwind of her responsibilities and the duty to connect, she hesitated. "Honey, I don't know. He's just busy," she managed to croak out, even though she felt a twinge of dishonesty. As a nurse, she wore her compassion like armor, yet when it came to personal connections, she felt exposed and vulnerable. What if inviting him over brought back painful memories of loss? Throughout her demanding shifts, she'd learned to compartmentalize her emotions, to keep the world at bay. Yet now, her daughter's innocent request cracked open something deeply buried within her. What would it mean to reach out? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Days turned to weeks, and the cozy dinners began. A series of evenings filled with Lily's impromptu art projects while Mr. Collins recounted stories of his youth. Laughter punctuated their gatherings. But beneath the surface, Sarah's heart was a tumult of conflicting emotions. She felt the pull of the caregiver she'd been trained to be against the full-time role of mom and neighbor. Every moment spent with Mr. Collins drew her closer, yet every shared laugh reverberated a deep-seated fear of her own inadequacies. What if she failed to support him? What if his sadness seeped into her already stretched spirit? It was during one of those evenings that Mr. Collins, seemingly frail yet dignified, clutched at his chest, gasping for breath. An ambulance arrived, whisking him away, leaving Sarah and Lily in a quiet, trembling aftermath. Now, standing in the flickering shadows of their empty house with crumpled mail spitting out anxiety, decisions barred her vision. Should she abandon the patients who needed her? Could she invest her time in someone she had just begun to truly understand? And yet, all around her, vibrant colors of Lily's drawings stained their walls, stark reminders of both innocence and the healing power of human connection. Sarah felt heavy, like a storm brewing inside her, with rippling doubts and unstoppable tides of responsibility crashing over her. Would she rise to the challenge, or hide behind her exhausted facade when faced with true connection? The tension mounted, looming ever larger around her heart, and uncertainty felt insurmountable. As Mr. Collins' fate hung in the balance, so did her own. The hospital buzzed with frenetic energy as Sarah navigated the corridors, her thoughts drifting between her duties and Mr. Collins. The echoes of the emergency room still haunted her, a cacophony of alarms and frantic voices. She had grown accustomed to the chaos, each day bending her resilience to the breaking point. Yet how could a woman save others when she felt profoundly lost herself? Every nurse needed to be a pillar of strength, but who sustained them in their moments of vulnerability? The faces of her patients blurred together, all compelling narratives of struggle and survival. But amidst their stories, a lonely figure haunted her thoughts, Mr. Collins. What had happened after the ambulance? She hadn't seen a shadow of him since that night, and the worry gnawed at her. During her lunch break, Sarah sat at a small table with colleagues, but the chatter around her felt distant, muffled. Their laughter felt foreign, and she remained an outsider as they spoke of weekend plans and trivial matters. Her mind flickered to Lily's hopeful eyes. The awareness of her daughter's innocent desires tugged at her heart, fueling a determination she had long buried beneath the surface. Wasn't it time she made a choice? Lily had shown her that connection could heal as much as it could hurt. Perhaps Mr. Collins was a piece of that puzzle. As the day stretched on, Sarah wrestled with her fear of reaching out again. It was a fear rooted in the uncertainties of emotional entanglement. Yet, every moment spent avoiding him was another moment deprived of potential healing, for both of them. Later that evening, Sarah stood in her kitchen, the comforting smell of dinner wafting through the air. She could hear Lily talking animatedly while doodling on the table with crayons. In that moment, a flicker of resolution ignited within her. She would reach out to Mr. Collins, not out of obligation, but out of genuine compassion, her innate calling as a nurse. With shaky hands, she took out her phone and searched for his number. The digits felt foreign but familiar at once, like an echo of the previous weeks. What would she say? That she had been worried? That she wanted to help? Or perhaps that she simply wanted to know him better? But before she could dial, a wave of doubt bubbled up, consuming her will. What if he didn't want her help? What if she opened the door to a torrent of painful memories? "Mommy!" Lily's voice broke through the fog of indecision. "Can we draw Mr. Collins a card?" In that instant, a sense of clarity washed over her. This wasn't just about her, it was about them, about connection and the fragile thread that binds people in their darkest hours. Without responding to Lily's question, Sarah finally pressed the call button, her heart racing. A heartbeat of courage surged within her as she heard the ringing on the other end, each chime a reminder that she was taking a step towards something significant. As the call connected and the familiar voice greeted her, a mix of trepidation and hope filled the air. "Mr. Collins, it's Sarah," she said, her tone steady despite the flutter in her chest. "Is everything all right?" he asked, revealing a warmth beneath his gravelly voice that she had come to appreciate. "I was just thinking about you. Can we have dinner tomorrow?" The pause stretched like a rubber band, taut with unspoken words, feelings, and potential. Would this be the moment both of them needed to step into the light of connection, or would it shatter her hesitant resolve? The uncertainty loomed as their conversation continued, and with it came the promise of growth, compassion, and perhaps renewal. But the real question tugged at the edge of her consciousness. What if Mr. Collins's struggles began to mirror her own? Would she be strong enough to face her fears head-on? The next day brought a sun-soaked optimism that felt strangely foreign amidst Sarah's spiraling thoughts. The hospital hummed with its usual rhythm, footsteps echoing, machines beeping, and the steady buzz of nurses coordinating care. But her mind was elsewhere. The prospect of dinner with Mr. Collins felt charged with possibilities and paralyzing dread. Throughout her shift, she focused on her tasks, administering medications, changing bandages, and providing comfort. Each interaction was a reminder of the compassion she so fervently offered others, yet she struggled to extend the same grace inward. As she tended to her patient's wounds, she wielded hope like a salve, but it was her own heart that remained festering with doubt. Around mid-afternoon, Sarah found herself entering a patient's room only to discover a small girl sitting on the edge of the bed, her legs swinging nervously above the floor. Wide-eyed with fear and uncertainty, she reminded Sarah of Lily in so many ways. "Are you going to fix me?" the girl whispered, vulnerable and brave, the question hanging heavy in the sterile air. In that moment, Sarah's heart twisted with empathy. "Yes, sweetheart. We'll make sure you're feeling much better soon." "Promise?" the girl replied, clutching a stuffed bear, its one ear floppy and well-loved. "Promise," Sarah said, her words suffused with sincerity. As she administered care, the soft smile that had emerged on the girl's face felt like a mirror, reflecting back her own struggle to find reassurance amidst the chaos of her professional life. This brief exchange catalyzed something within her, igniting a flicker of courage she longed to harness. Later that evening, as dinner approached, Sarah locked the front door, Lily's excited chattering filling the air. An innocent comment woven through Lily's laughter suddenly landed heavily on Sarah's heart. "Mommy, you're going to make him smile, right? We need him to be happy." The weight of expectation. It thrust Sarah into the depths of her insecurities. Would her presence be enough to lift Mr. Collins's spirits? Could she even summon the emotional energy to be the person he needed? Moments before leaving, hovering at the threshold of the door, she felt an overwhelming impulse to cancel. Yet she quickly brushed it aside. Standing on the brink of potential connection meant facing not only Mr. Collins, but also the fragile parts of herself she had kept boxed away for too long. As they sat across from each other at a small table in the cozy little restaurant, the ambiance of soft chatter and flickering candlelight enveloped them. She studied him, the lines of his face etched deep with untold stories. His guarded demeanor challenged her resolve, yet a flicker of vulnerability crossed his eyes as he spoke of his recovery. "Some days it just feels like I'm walking through a fog," he admitted, his voice gruff yet profoundly sincere. "I see people moving forward and I wonder what that's like." The weight of his words resonated deeply within Sarah. The similarities between their struggles felt too aligning, as though she were looking into a distorted reflection of her own journey. What she didn't know was that sharing her own story would demand a confrontation with the darkest corners of her existence. The loss, the confusion, and the profound loneliness that she had so skillfully masked. But she felt nudged by an unseen force to move past the surface and delve deeper. "Sometimes," she said, gathering the fragments of her own courage, "I feel lost too. But maybe, together we could find our way back." The silence that followed held taut emotions, both of them standing at the crossroads of vulnerability. Would she have the strength to bare her heart fully to someone who shared her fears? And would he be there to catch her, or would their fragile connection splinter beneath the weight of unspoken truths? This dinner marked the beginning of a journey neither of them anticipated, but the darkness still loomed ahead. Before they could navigate the uncharted waters of healing, they would have to confront the pain that surged forth with every newly uncovered feeling. As they prepared to leave, Sarah knew the night held more revelations than either of them were prepared to handle. The real question danced in the air. How could she draw strength from Mr. Collins without losing herself in the process? Sitting in the dimly lit restaurant, the din of soft conversation enveloped Sarah as she absorbed Mr. Collins' unguarded words. The realization struck her like a thunderclap. Sharing her own vulnerabilities could forge a genuine connection. Yet, the thought of exposing her raw emotions felt terrifying. After years of carefully reconstructing walls to protect her heart, revealing her truth felt like stepping into a vast, uncertain abyss. "Maybe," she began, her voice trembling slightly, "we can help each other navigate this fog." The metaphor hung between them like a bridge yet to be traversed. Mr. Collins studied her as if weighing the gravity of her offer. The skeptical crease in his brow softened, and for the first time, she sensed a flicker of hope stirring in his weary eyes. "What if it gets too dark?" he asked. "What if we lose our way?" Her heart raced. The very question echoed her internal fears, the fragility of the connection they were inching towards. But rather than retreating, Sarah leaned into the discomfort. "Then we'll find a way back. Together, one step at a time." In that vulnerable moment, she felt a small shift inside herself, a burgeoning resolve to address the very doubts she had harbored for so long. It was no longer solely about providing care. It involved opening herself to the possibility of healing, entailing an encounter with her own grief. The evening progressed, marked by stories laced with sorrow, laughter woven with pain. As they shared their stories, his loss of his spouse, and her struggle with self-acceptance and support for Lily, the barriers that separated them began to dissolve. Each confession peeled back layers, exposing emotions both raw and beautiful. Once they finished their meals, a silence enveloped them, heavy yet palpable. It dawned on Sarah that she had stepped through a threshold, her heart now exposed and vulnerable in ways she had buried for years. "Mr. Collins, I want to help you more, but—" He interrupted, a glimmer of understanding in his eyes. "But you don't know how to do that while keeping yourself intact, right?" "Exactly," she breathed, momentarily stunned by his insight. It was as if he had peeled back her intentions with ease. It's a delicate balance, he continued, leaning into the table. Finding strength in each other without losing our own sense of self. That's where the real challenge lies. His words resonated deeply as she recognized the truth nestled within them. It acted as a mirror, reflecting her own battle, but also a reminder that growth thrived in discomfort. And yet, the fear of losing herself still loomed like a dark cloud. What if we just agree to be honest with one another, she suggested, cautiously optimistic. No expectations of saving each other, just supporting the journey? He nodded, a gentle smile creeping across his face. I think that's the best plan we can come up with. As they stood to leave, Sarah's heart buoyed with the reassurance of connectedness. The burden of solitude felt lighter, and she envisioned this partnership progressing toward healing, anchoring one another in the turbulent realities of their lives. Yet in the recesses of her mind, the familiar flicker of doubt emerged. Would this bond withstand the struggles that were yet to come? She sensed the darkness waiting in the wings, ready to test her newfound resolve and push against the fragile thread connecting them. Drawing a deep breath before parting, she declared, "No more hiding, right?" "Agreed," Mr. Collins replied, his voice low yet resolute. As they exchanged a genuine smile, Sarah felt both exhilarated and apprehensive about the path ahead. The real challenge loomed just beyond the threshold. What secrets would they uncover together, and would they have the strength to face them as a united front? The tension of uncertainty thrummed in the air. There was still so much to confront, and the journey into the depths of their souls had only just begun. Would they be ready for the revelations waiting just around the corner? As Sarah stepped out of the restaurant, the crisp evening air felt invigorating, yet her mind was churning with the enormity of the conversation she'd just had. It wasn't merely about Mr. Collins anymore. It had become a transformative experience for herself as well. The air was filled with resolve, but also a deep-seated anxiety that gripped her stomach in a tight knot. The night was still young, and she found herself strolling through the nearby park, wanting to prolong this moment of clarity. The haunting shadows of her past flitted around her like wraiths, always eager to remind her of her hesitations and failures. But tonight felt different. She sensed a shift. She was no longer just the caretaker. She was capable of something more profound, something she had never allowed herself to explore. Connection. She looked around, noticing children laughing and playing in the distance. One little girl, a bundle of energy with pigtails flying wildly, caught her eye. As the child sprinted toward a nearby swing set, her laughter rang out, pure and unencumbered, and Sarah couldn't help but smile. This fleeting moment of joy stirred something resembling a longing within her, a rekindling of her own lost innocence, a whisper of what it felt like to connect without fear. In that instant, the girl looked over her shoulder, meeting Sarah's gaze, and without hesitation, ran toward her. Stopping just a few feet away, the child paused and stared up, curious and expectant. "Why do you look sad?" she asked, her voice small yet unyielding. Caught off guard, Sarah felt her facade crack. There was something hauntingly innocent about the child's inquiry, and she struggled to respond. "I'm not sad, just thinking," she finally replied, her voice trembling at the edges. The girl tilted her head, narrowing her eyes in doubt. "You look like you are. When I'm sad, I talk to my teddy bear. He always makes me feel better." This simple suggestion ignited a small flame of understanding within Sarah. Teddy bears held secrets, fears, joys, and connection. If such a small creature could serve as a confidant, why couldn't she allow herself to be a little less guarded? "I wish I had a teddy bear," Sarah murmured, a smile creeping onto her face. "Maybe I need one." The girl giggled, almost disbelievingly. "You can talk to me instead," she declared with earnest conviction. This unexpected connection felt like a balm for her worry-fraught heart. Sarah saw herself reflected in this child's bravery, her willingness to engage without the heavy layers of adult expectations and fears. As seconds turned into minutes, they exchanged laughs about pretend tea parties and imaginary adventures. Sarah felt the walls of her own heart start to crumble further, initiating a tumultuous journey toward self-acceptance she hadn't anticipated. After a while, the girl's mother called out, and with a cheerful wave, the child dashed off. Alone once again, Sarah marveled at the interaction. The purity of the moment resonated deep within her soul. That chance encounter illuminated a profound truth. Connection was not a transactional event, nor did it require perfection. The potential for understanding which lay embedded in vulnerability was often obscured by the weight of expectations. She turned to leave the park, a sense of lightness blooming in her chest. Yet, a sharp reminder of her commitments awaited her. Mr. Collins. The understanding shared during dinner echoed in her mind, entwined with the revelations from tonight. She needed to confront her own fears surrounding this burgeoning connection, but as she reached the exit, her phone buzzed with an unfamiliar notification. Curiosity piqued, she glanced at the screen. A message from Mr. Collins, something urgent. Was it a test of their agreement to be honest? Tension spiraled within her. The journey had not yet begun. It was about to escalate. Would she be strong enough to face whatever awaited her in Mr. Collins's reply? The message sat on her screen, pulsing with potential. Each silent vibration echoed in her mind, amplifying her unease. Sarah could almost hear the words unspoken, a chorus of insecurities and doubts clamoring for attention. What if Mr. Collins' message would demand more of her than she was ready to give? Taking a deep breath, she reluctantly unlocked her phone and read the text. Sarah, I need to discuss something important. Can we meet tomorrow? The weight of the simplicity struck her hard. An urgent request, devoid of context, felt like an open door to both opportunity and escalation. She flicked her gaze back toward the park. The echoes of children playing morphed into a reminder of innocence, juxtaposed against her adult reality. She was no longer merely a spectator. She was a participant in a narrative that demanded authenticity. Self-doubt clawed at her, but so did determination. Sarah's fingers hovered over the screen as she crafted a reply. Sure, when and where? The act felt both monumental and trivial, like pinning a butterfly to the wall for observation. Would she slip back into her old self, or embrace the unfolding possibility that lay in Mr. Collins's message? As she sent the text, an odd sense of resolve washed over her. She couldn't ignore the insatiable drive to understand herself, to forge connections even at the cost of discomfort. Once again she found herself on the brink of transformation, a narrative woven into the fabric of her existence. With her phone safely tucked away, Sarah took a few steps back into the park, where calm replaced trepidation. She sought a bench that felt familiar, where she could sit and strategize her next move. Yet, as she settled in, warmth crept in. This was her place, a zone of reflection where she could brainstorm how to confront her fears. Could she really allow herself to form a genuine bond with Mr. Collins? The idea made her heart race, but the nagging question of her worthiness lingered. She fanned the air to whisk away her anxiety, realizing all she needed to do was be herself, the version she had started to unearth tonight. A soft chirping emanated from a nearby tree, drawing her attention upward. A small bird had taken residence, curiously watching her, as if urging her to confront her own truth. She often imagined the lives of the critters flitting about her. Did they ever wrestle with their own connections? Did they feel vulnerable? With the bird as her silent companion, Sarah began to rehearse the upcoming meeting in her head. She pictured the interaction emphasizing honesty, the pulse of vulnerability strong as she verbalized her thoughts, unencumbered by expectations. Would Mr. Collins appreciate her newfound openness? Could she truly allow someone to see her flaws? In that moment of brave introspection, Sarah felt a spark of an idea, an entirely new approach. Instead of simply responding to Mr. Collins, she would guide the conversation to be a two-way street of vulnerability. The prospect invigorated her more than any fleeting connection ever could. She was ready to express her fears, her desires, and ultimately, her genuine self. Her phone buzzed again, another notification from Mr. Collins. It was a confirmation on time for tomorrow. There was no denying that this growing connection was about to challenge her in ways she never imagined. The heaviness that clung to her all evening began to lift, replaced by a tingling anticipation. Tomorrow would be a test, not just for Mr. Collins, but for herself. Would she embrace the challenge, or would the ghosts from her past pull her back into despair? As night descended, Sarah stared into the darkening sky, feeling the weight of the unknown before her. Something sparked within her, a realization that facing the storm might just reveal the bright dawn she had yearned for. Feeling energized, she stood and walked briskly out of the park. She could almost hear the call of possibility beckoning her closer, promising revelations entwined with risk. Would she finally meet her past head-on and construct the future she envisioned? The stage was set for tomorrow. The day had arrived, and the world felt both exhilarating and daunting as Sarah approached the coffee shop where she'd agreed to meet Mr. Collins. She had chosen the quaint little place not for sentimentality, but because it exuded warmth, an inviting atmosphere that echoed her growing determination to embrace authenticity. As she stepped inside, the aroma of freshly brewed coffee wrapped around her like a comforting blanket, only slightly easing the flickering butterflies in her stomach. When she spotted Mr. Collins seated at a corner table, his presence sharpened her focus. He was deep in thought, the fingers of one hand idly stirring a cup while the other held a clipboard filled with notes. Sarah's heart raced. This wasn't merely a meeting. It was a confrontation with her own self-imposed limitations. She approached the table, careful not to cling tightly to her own expectations of how the dialogue should unfold. "Good morning," she ventured, forcing her voice to steady as she pulled out a chair. Mr. Collins looked up, his expression shifting from contemplation to a welcoming smile that immediately eased the tension in Sarah's shoulders. "Thanks for coming, Sarah. I really appreciate it," he said warmly. As they exchanged pleasantries, the initial awkwardness slowly melted away. Sarah seized the moment to remind herself of her goal. Rather than merely responding to his prompts, she needed to set a tone of openness. So, when the conversation turned to the project they were discussing, she shifted the dialogue inward. "Actually, Mr. Collins, I hope we can talk about something beyond just work today. I'd like to share ideas I've had about the project, but I also want to discuss a bit about myself, if that's okay." The air shifted around her, tangling her nerves with anticipation. He nodded, leaning forward in interest. "Absolutely. I'd like to know what's on your mind." Sarah took a breath, feeling the rush of vulnerability washing over her. "I've been thinking a lot about what it means to collaborate authentically. I often find myself caught between fear and desire. The fear of exposing my weaknesses and the desire to connect meaningfully." She searched his gaze, silently pleading for understanding. A contemplative expression crossed his face as he absorbed her words. "That's incredibly brave of you to admit. I think many people struggle with that." "I know I do," he replied, revealing a flicker of his own vulnerabilities. In that moment, Sarah felt a profound shift within her. She was no longer alone in her discomfort. By shedding her fears and initiating this conversation, she was forging a bond that offered both solace and strength. Encouraged, she leaned in. "How do you cope with your own insecurities in this line of work?" Mr. Collins hesitated for just a moment, choosing his words carefully. "Well, I lost my wife not long ago, and her absence has created a vacuum in both my personal life and my career. I've realized that the only way to push through the struggle is to talk about it, honestly." His admission hung in the air, charged with shared vulnerability. Surprised by the turn of the conversation, Sarah felt an unexpected connection blossom between them. Here was a man, polished and competent on the outside, revealing the pain that lay beneath. Suddenly, she sensed an exhilarating shift. Their exchange had ventured beyond mere business talk. They were, for the first time, two souls engaging in an authentic dialogue marked by vulnerability. The table between them became not just a space for coffee, but a bridge spanning experiences and emotions. As they unraveled their stories, Sarah discerned hidden threads that stitched them together. A shared understanding of loss, of longing, and the fortitude needed to forge onward despite the weight of life's challenges. Time slipped away as they exchanged stories, laughter mingling with silence, a dance of trust forming between them. Yet beneath the exhilaration lurked a tightening sensation. This connection was deepening faster than she had anticipated. As their meeting drew to a close, Sarah realized how much she had grown in that brief span. She hadn't just confronted her fears, she had actively engaged with another person, revealing the intricate layers of her being. The warmth in her chest stirred with anticipation. What could unfold if she continued this exploration? However, as they stood to leave, Mr. Collins dropped a sudden bombshell. "Sarah, I'd like to discuss more than just this project going forward. I've seen something in you, and I want to help you develop it." Her heart raced, the thrill of possibility competing with a sudden surge of apprehension. What exactly did he see? Was she ready to embrace whatever it was he envisioned? The unknown loomed before her like a wave threatening to crash. Would she ride it to new shores, or would she flounder against the undertow of her uncertainties? Tomorrow held promise, but today felt like the beginning of a journey fraught with decision. Would she dive deeper into this connection, or would fear sink her? Sarah awoke the next morning with a swirl of thoughts tugging at her. The shadows of yesterday's encounter with Mr. Collins danced in her mind, leaving her both exhilarated and unsettled. She could still feel the weight of his words, the promise they held, yet apprehension pressed against her like a physical entity. The warmth of their conversation was laced with the cool air of uncertainty. Was she truly ready to explore the uncharted territories of her own potential? As she sipped on her coffee, she caught her reflection in the window. The face looking back seemed brave yet uncertain, a fusion of resolve and hesitation. Today, she knew, could either heighten her ambitions or ensnare her in doubt. Her phone buzzed, interrupting her thoughts. A message from Mr. Collins. "Good morning, Sarah. I'm eager to discuss our next steps. Are you free today?" Her heart raced again. Did he mean to dive into the deep waters they had just skimmed over? There was a sliver of excitement mixed with a swell of dread. What could he possibly see in her worth developing? Was she ready to reveal more of herself, or would she retreat into the familiar comfort of self-doubt? She typed back a quick affirmative, and as she hit send, she felt her pulse quicken. Who was she now? She needed to reflect this new understanding of herself without reverting to the fear that often kept her voice silent. The hours flew by as she prepared for the meeting, her mind oscillating between the thrill of growth and the nagging voice of insecurity. She pulled out her notebook, filled with ideas she had once considered too bold to mention. She needed to showcase her insights, not just as a means to impress Mr. Collins, but as a testament to who she was evolving into. She plotted out her thoughts, each bullet point a step toward clarity. When she finally arrived at the familiar coffee shop, the ambiance felt both welcoming and intimidating. Sitting at the same table, she awaited Mr. Collins' arrival, resolved to own this moment. She straightened her back, filling her lungs with the warmth of the coffee-scented air. Today was about more than just the project. It was about her identity and the courage to articulate it. Upon sighting him enter, she noticed something in the way he carried himself. He moved with an air that suggested he was ready to embrace whatever unfolded between them. "You seem engaged, Sarah," he remarked as he took a seat, his eyes bright with curiosity. "What have you been thinking about?" Her heart raced as she launched into her ideas, articulating her vision for their project with newfound eloquence. She observed the way his eyes lit up, reflecting an interest that was both flattering and slightly unnerving. His attentiveness became a tether, connecting her growing confidence with the authenticity she sought. "Those ideas are impressive," he said, leaning back in his chair. "And what about you? How do you feel stepping into this bigger role?" The question pierced her, an invitation to dig deeper into her psyche. It was as if he held up a mirror to her inner struggles. "Honestly, I feel like I'm at a crossroads. Part of me wants to leap forward and embrace every challenge, but another part holds me back, questioning my worth." Mr. Collins nodded thoughtfully. "We all battle that inner critic. It's about finding the balance. What if we structured our collaboration with that self-reflection in mind?" His suggestion hung in the air, a tangible path forward. As they discussed not just the specifics of the project, but also how this could serve as a journey of growth for both of them, Sarah felt the tension within her ease. "Indeed, that could ignite a transformative experience," she replied, the weight of apprehension lifting. She realized she was not just stepping into a professional challenge, but also forging a bond that might encourage mutual growth. However, beneath the surface of their burgeoning connection lay unspoken implications. The more comfortable she became with him, the more she feared the emotional stakes. Would this developing partnership push her boundaries beyond what she was ready to face? As the conversation wound down, Mr. Collins leaned closer, his voice low and sincere. "I genuinely believe in your potential, Sarah. I'm here to support you, but it's vital that you confront your own fears head-on." A lump formed in her throat as she nodded. His belief felt like both a gift and a challenge. Yet, a flicker of excitement ignited within her. If he could see something in her, perhaps it was time for her to start seeing it too. Would she embrace this support and dive deeper, or would the weight of her fears anchor her before she truly began? The question hung heavily between them, a seed of possibility waiting to be nurtured. As Sarah exited the coffee shop, the sunlight enveloped her, warm against her skin. Yet, the emotional weight of their conversation clung to her like an unwelcome cloak. Mr. Collins' faith in her wasn't just a glimmer of hope. It was a potent challenge and a call to action. Would she rise to it or simply wilt under the pressure? Walking through the bustling streets felt surreal. Each person seemed animated, flourishing in their own lives, while Sarah felt suspended in her own uncertainty. Her mind replayed Mr. Collins's words and how they resonated deep within her. His support was a lifeline, but it also demanded she meet him with vulnerability. A daunting prospect. What if she failed to deliver? What if the shadows of her self-doubt eclipsed her potential? She walked toward a nearby park, where she often went to think. The green space was a grounding contrast to the chorus of uncertainties swirling in her thoughts. Sitting on a bench, she pulled her notebook from her bag, flipping through the pages filled with bold ideas. Each line echoed her potential, yet also her fear to act upon it. There was a flutter in her chest, one that straddled curiosity and anxiety. With a deep breath, she began writing again, this time reflecting on her fears. Each word served as an incantation, exorcising the unnamed specters that haunted her. "What if I'm not enough?" she wrote, allowing her inner critic to spill out unhindered. "What if I look foolish in front of Mr. Collins?" The pensiveness was cathartic, an acceptance of her fears that somehow lessened their grip on her. As she wrote, a small voice in her head urged her to pivot her thinking. What if she reframed her fears as opportunities for growth? Each doubt transformed into a challenge to overcome. "What if I'm not enough yet?" she scribbled next, quickly following with, "But I can learn, adapt, and become better." It was a spark of realization. Her journey was not contingent on perfection but on progress. The sun dipped lower in the sky, illumination filtering through the leaves above her. As she continued writing, the thought formed clearly. She wouldn't face her fears alone. The partnership with Mr. Collins wasn't just professional. It was collaborative exploration. They were embarking on a shared potential journey. With renewed determination, she decided to reach out to him. She would propose a structured approach to their collaboration. Sessions focused not just on their project, but also on self-reflection and individual growth. She imagined them discussing their strengths and weaknesses openly, allowing space for authenticity. This idea excited her. It was practical, but also filled with emotional resonance. Sarah sent him a message, her fingers tapping rapidly on the screen, each word shedding layers of previous hesitance. "Hi, Mr. Collins. I've been thinking about our collaboration. What if we create a structure that includes time for personal reflection, alongside project milestones?" She hesitated only for a moment before clicking send, the weight of her apprehension dissipating. As anticipation bubbled within her, she knew something had shifted. She was moving beyond merely seeking validation to confidently asserting her needs and ideas. The sense of empowerment began to root itself, inviting a thrill she hadn't felt in years. Then her phone chimed with a reply. "I love that idea, Sarah. Let's meet tomorrow to discuss it further. Also, I have some thoughts about your insights I'd love to explore." His enthusiasm felt addictive, igniting a fire in her stomach. Would this newfound dynamic reveal more than professional growth? As she closed her notebook, a thought flickered in her mind. Perhaps it was time to confront the underlying feelings she had been hesitant to acknowledge. The moment of truth had arrived, and she felt both exhilaration and fear intertwining. What truths would surface in this burgeoning partnership? The lines between professional and personal were starting to blur, demanding her attention. With the evening settling in, Sarah felt the shifting tides within herself. She wasn't quite sure where this path with Mr. Collins would lead, but she was ready to see. The future extended out before her, shrouded in potential yet tinged with uncertainty. Standing at the threshold of her fears and aspirations, she realized she was poised on the brink of a deeper self-discovery. Would she step boldly into this unknown territory, or would her insecurities pull her back? The heart of growth often lay in the unknown, and for Sarah, the time had come to face the very depths of her own potential. The following day unfolded bright and optimistic, but uncertainty stirred within Sarah as she sat in the familiar coffee shop. The buzz of conversations and the smell of fresh pastries usually offered her a sense of home, yet today felt different. Today was not merely about discussing a project with Mr. Collins. It was about confronting the depth of her transformative journey. When Mr. Collins arrived, he wore a welcoming smile, but his eyes held a revealing depth that sent a thrill through Sarah. "Good morning, Sarah. I'm eager to delve into your ideas," he said, his enthusiasm palpable. As they settled into the conversation, she felt a tingle of anticipation rising within her. Communicating her vision for their collaboration came naturally. "I believe we should create a structured approach that includes personal reflection alongside our project milestones," she proposed, her confidence buoyed by clarity on her objectives. Mr. Collins leaned forward, his expression reflective. "That's a substantial idea, Sarah. We're not just partners in this project. We need to be partners in our growth too. How can you envision this structure looking?" His genuine interest amplified her resolve. Caught up in the moment, Sarah detailed her thoughts about integrating bi-weekly check-ins focusing equally on project progress and individual accountability. She was no longer the hesitant woman she'd been months prior. The realization struck her. She was demonstrating an established competence, ready to challenge herself and invite Mr. Collins into the process. As the conversation deepened, she felt the warmth of recognition emanating from both of them, an acknowledgement of their vulnerabilities fused with the strength found in shared experiences. Incorporating personal accountability could change everything, Mr. Collins admitted, invigorated, and it could help us manage our emotional landscapes. We both know how easy it is for one's struggles to impede progress. Transitioning into a more profound conversation, Sarah sensed the thrilling undercurrents of their partnership. The realization washed over her. She was confronting her fears alongside Mr. Collins, and in doing so, forging an indelible bond. "You know, I've spent so long perfecting the facade of being supportive without addressing my own challenges," she confessed. "But now I'm finally learning the importance of vulnerability. You and me both." He nodded in solidarity. "This journey is a two-way street. Many times our hesitations can become stepping stones." With each exchanged story, her struggles as a nurse, his experiences as a veteran, Sarah saw reflections of herself in his challenges. It was as though they had unwrapped layers of their identities in tandem, revealing authentic selves longing for understanding and healing. When the conversation turned toward logistics, they began outlining the details for their new structure. However, as the dialogue continued, a pivotal moment arose, a question that would reshape everything. "Mr. Collins," she started tentatively, "what do you ultimately hope to achieve in this collaboration?" His response came without hesitation. "Growth from within. I want to break free of the chains of grief, but I also see potential in you, potential that I want to help you unlock. Together, I believe we can help each other break through." His words rang true, striking a chord within her. Here was an acknowledgement that she had long sought. As they delved into their ambitions, Sarah felt her fear begin to dissolve, replaced by a resolute understanding of her own worth. The tension in her heart transformed into resolve, an unwavering commitment to embrace this evolution. As their meeting concluded, the sun dipped lower on the horizon, shimmering through the windows. Mr. Collins looked at her, sincerity etched across his features. "Can I say something candidly?" "Of course," she replied, curiosity piquing. "I admire not just your ideas but your growth. You've conquered doubt. It's a common battle, but you stand steady. I see someone ready to achieve more than they ever thought possible." In that moment, Sarah felt a rush of pride swell within her. Here was recognition she desperately craved, a culmination of her struggles transformed into solid confidence. She had faced her fears, and what lay ahead was tangible. "Thank you, Mr. Collins. Your belief in me means more than you know." As they parted ways, a sense of fulfillment coursed through her veins. With each step toward her home, she reflected on the strides she had made, not just in her career but in cultivating an authentic bond. She recognized the great potential ahead, both for her and Mr. Collins, united by their journey of professional and personal evolution. Sarah entered her home that evening, greeted by the jubilant laughter of Lily as she showcased colorful drawings she had created. "Mommy, look!" Lily exclaimed, her eyes gleaming with excitement. As Sarah knelt beside her daughter, she felt an overwhelming sense of connection ripple through her. "Those are beautiful, honey. You've captured something special," she said, her heart swelling. In that moment, Sarah fully embraced the gravity of her journey. She had not only unlocked new accomplishments in her career, but had established emotional bridges that would guide her into the future. Each exhilarating step forward solidified her stance as a confident woman who could cultivate deep connections without fear. In the backdrop of their cherished home filled with warmth and laughter, Sarah knew she had finally proven to herself that healing could flourish through vulnerability. She had conquered not just her fears but cultivated a newfound sense of purpose in her life. This was her triumph, a reconnection to her essence as a caregiver, a mother, and a partner navigating life's complexities. The story wasn't finished. It was just the beginning. Now, let this resonate within you. You need to subscribe now for more exclusive emotional stories that inspire transformation. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and keep this powerful narrative going. Comment with your reactions and theories about these achievements. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this journey toward personal growth. It's time to uplift others in their own battles.